From Alex Halberstadt's Brilliant Corners column, published in Stereophile magazine, February 7, 2025. Much has been written about the Japanese penchant for jazz and other aspects of American culture. This affinity is paradoxical and complex, taking root despite the horrors of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the ambiguities of U.S. military occupation. In Japan, jazz remains nearly unavoidable. In case you're unfamiliar with the jazz Kissa or jazz Kissas, they are bar cafes with stellar record collections and hi-fi systems, catering to visitors who want to hear well-produced music while enjoying drinks and each other's company. The listening takes place in an atmosphere of attention and hushed near silence. This aspect of Kissa etiquette accords with Japanese society, which values harmony above all, and there's rarely a need to enforce a respectful noise level. In fact, during visits to half a dozen of these places, the only customers I saw being hushed were foreigners in various degrees of crapulence. Kissa are nearly as old as recorded music. One of their first mentions occurs in Junichiro Tanazaki's novel, Naomi. It depicts a modern girl, the Japanese analog of a jazz-age flapper, frolicking in ginza cafes that resemble contemporary Kissa. These cafes often sprang up near college campuses, catering to the westernized taste of the educated youth. The popularity of Kissa exploded in the post-war era, reflecting the public's intense interest in jazz, as well as the fact that LPs and perfectionist hi-fi gear were simply too expensive for most Japanese. The heyday of these establishments is captured in Haruki Murakami's 1987 novel Norwegian Wood. Murakami knew his subject well. In the late 1970s, he had worked at Old Blind Cat, a jazz Kissa located not far from Doug. And later, he and his wife ran a tiny jazz club near Shinjuku's Sendagaya station. There are fewer Kissa today, but they remain a vital part of Japan's urban landscape, and new listening spaces continue to open their doors. On a slow boat is such one place, a relatively new Kissa, in a Tokyo neighborhood known for its musical instrument shops and outpost of the massive record store Disc Union. Step inside and you'll see a counter covered with glasses of coffee beans, an espresso machine, and several tables. You might think you're inside an ordinary cafe until you notice the record shelves, TIAC turntables, Luxman amp, and vintage Altec Lansing Model 18 speakers. When I thought about how wonderful it would be to have a cafe like On a Slow Boat back home in Brooklyn, then I remembered that the cafe would be filled with Brooklynites with our Instagram addictions and tendency to conduct private conversations at a volume stage actors use when working in a 1,200-seat theater. I asked one proprietor what made a Kissa special. Was it just an alternative to listening to records at home, but on a better system and with the possibility of pasta? He considered my question. It was the community, he said finally. He explained that regulars often meet outside the Eagle, his Kissa, to see live jazz, and some had struck up friendships that extended beyond that. But even within the Kissa's walls, there was the important act of listening together. One only has to look at many popular aspects of Japan's culture, like, say, manga or baseball, to realize that its genius lies in taking elements from other places and transforming them into something seamlessly, even essentially Japanese. The jazz Kissa is no different. In Japanese hands, an American bar filled with loud jazz has become a meditative space for the appreciation of great music and the cultivation of one's listening skills. And in a weird twist, dozens of new listening spaces based on the Japanese mutation of the American bar are opening in a slew of American cities. How in the world did that happen? What happened is an explosion of listening bars opening across New York City alone. By one count, at least 30. Now, these are all not obviously jazz listening bars, but many of them have a jazz night or a jazz evening, as when I spin at Tokyo Record Bar or Kissa in Crown Heights. Tonight, which is a Saturday night, I'll be spinning at NBetween, which is sort of a loud, raucous Kissa atmosphere, but I'll be playing straight jazz. These listening bars are all across New York City, and to some degree, they did get kicked off by Devon Turnbull, who began installing his high-end, very unique horn speakers in places like Eavesdrop and Public Records. Other bars include such names as Dick and James, Trad Room, Filthy Diamond, Aftermath NYC, Matilda, Funny Bar, Mr. Mellow, Soho House, Practically Dazed, Drink Lounge, Moondog Hi-Fi, Jolene's Sound Room, Hidden Tiger, The Last Call, Good Bar, Day Moves, Night Moves, and Key Bar. Join me as I take you along to 5 of the rooms I have played at across the city, including Devon Turnbull's spot in Soho, NBetween in the Chelsea Market, Silence Please on the Bowery, Tokyo Record Bar on McDougal Street, and All Blues on Walker Street in Chinatown.